1/5 of a second. In 1/5 of a second, you decide whether I'm safe or not. Every time you sit in front of a prospect or client, that's what their brain is going through. They're trying to figure out whether you can help them or hurt them. So I'm going to help you figure out ways that your first impression is going to be, yes, that person can help me. Now, a lot of what I'm going to share with you today comes from my direct experience. I used to work for a company, and I have the distinct pleasure of having been on the receiving end of over 1,200 sales meetings from financial services professionals. 1,200, that's 1,200. That's probably 6 times the amount of people in this room have tried to sell me something. And I gotta tell you something. Of those 1,200 people, I probably would have done business with fewer than 10%. Now, it wasn't because they were terrible. It was mostly because they weren't magnetic enough to attract me to do business with them. So I want to help you get more magnetic. But to me, it's not about what you're selling, it's about how you're selling it. So I'm going to share some things with you today around that. And I call it my 3M formula. It's my magnetic formula. So it has to do with mindset, motive, and your message. And I'm going to start with mindset. How many of you have heard about that whole growth versus fixed mindset? Growing is I'm fabulous, and I can get even more fabulous. And fixed is I am what I am, and that's all I am. But when you have a bad day with a fixed mindset, this is the conversation that you have with yourself. I'm not successful because either the client is bad or I'm bad. Now, when you have a growth mindset, what can I do to be more successful? Is a growth mindset enough? Because for me, to be a magnetic salesperson, you need to have a magnetic mindset. You need to have that mindset that you are so incredibly confident about who you are, about what you do, that people are just drawn to you. They just can't help. You know, you sit down in a meeting and it's like, yeah, I'm going to give you my money because you got something. You know, it's like that's the mindset that you need, that you have something so incredibly valuable that they're going to just be drawn in. How strongly do you believe in the value of what you are selling? There's this thing called mirror neurons. Have everybody heard of mirror neurons? See, mirror neurons happen when you're thinking something, you're not saying anything. It's similar to what we've discovered with microaggressions and how implicit bias is communicated sometimes without words, without anybody even knowing that they're thinking that. So mirror neurons are like that. You know, your emotions, your intentions take place in your body, and somehow they communicate to the person in front of you without you even realizing it. And what happens is we can smell it. You know, we can smell your mindset. So one of the things you want to think about is how these mirror neurons work. Now, I know you've experienced mirror neurons in the past, right? You may have gone into some place, you're all chill and relaxed and feeling good. And then you sit in front of somebody and you start feeling this anxiety and this stress. You have no idea what happened, but you are feeling stressed, or you're feeling something other. Now, it could also happen in the reverse. And that's why a magnetic mindset has to do with embracing enthusiasm. Look at Neil's job. She is so enthusiastic. You know, the rate of your enthusiasm is going to translate to your prospecting client. They're going to smell the enthusiasm just like they smell the stress. And that's going to raise their vibration, and they're going to be like, oh, wow, this must be a great product. She's so happy about it. So if you care more about making the sale or looking good instead of solving your client's problem, remember, they can smell it. So instead of having a magnetic mindset, you wind up having one of those mindsets that go, I am going to convince you of how good I am, how much I have, how invaluable it is. That's not helpful. Or you might develop a mindset that says, I'm so good, what the heck is wrong with you? Why don't you see how much value I'm getting or giving? It's another mindset you might get. Or hopefully, and the worst one is, what the heck is wrong with me? Why can't I sell? Why can't I convince people of how much value I have? Now, you don't have to raise your hands if you don't want to, but think about it. Have any of those thoughts ever gone through your head? Yeah, thank you. How can you create a magnetic mindset? And it means that you believe that what you are providing adds value and can solve your prospect's problem. Now, in order to believe that, you have to actually know what the problem is, right? So what value do you add? What problem do you solve? I want to hear it from somebody. Who wants to tell me what problem they have or what value they add? Right. And I want to challenge you a little bit, or want you to think a little bit. Because is that the real problem? Is that always the real problem that you are solving? So let's talk about motive. Think about the last thing you bought. Last thing you bought that was over 500. No, you know what? You guys look pretty Tony. Think about the last thing you bought that was over $1,000. Product or service or whatever. Why did you buy it? What problem were you trying to solve? And why did you buy it? Anybody want to share with me? Yes?
I bought a flight.
You bought a what?
A flight.
A flight. Okay, you bought a flight. And why did you buy it? What problem did it solve?
I've been wanting to travel again, so I just did it.
Yeah, where are you going?
Turkey.
Turkey. Yes. So you bought a flight, and did you buy economy? Did you buy business? Did you buy first class?
Definitely bought economy.
Okay, so she bought a ticket to Turkey because she wanted to travel. Right? So that's the problem that she solved. She was like, but is that the problem? She got there. That's a logical reason that she got there. The bigger problem that you solved was, I am not feeling good right now. I want to feel better by experiencing new ground, right? So we buy things for a purpose, to get somewhere, but we also buy things to feel a certain way. Now, most people will buy for both the logical and emotional reasons. But research has proven that most people will buy for emotional first and then use the logic to rationalize why they made the decision that they made. Logic tells, emotion sells. Logic tells, emotion sells. So you want to think about the emotional reasons your prospects or your clients want to buy from you. Need fulfillment. That's the simplest one. I need something, I'm going to buy it. Like for food, it's like I'm hungry, I need to eat. I'm going to buy something to eat. Status and recognition. A lot of people will buy things just to look good. You know, when you think about a car, like, are you going to buy a Dodge if you can afford a Lexus or a BMW, or a Volvo? Now, the Lexus, BMW, and Volvo probably maybe around the same price. But if you want people to think that you are really successful, you're probably going to go for the Lexus or BMW. If you want people to think that you're a great family person, you might go for the Volvo. Then there's emotional gratification. Emotional gratification is a great reason for buying things, rather feel better. We buy sweets, we buy alcohol to feel good. There's no actual logical reason that you need a drink. Is there? There's not. It really isn't. But we keep doing it because it makes us feel good. falls into the drink, maybe falls into the problem solving, right? He's like, problem solving, I'm in a bad mood, so it's going to solve my problem. All right, so problem solving is another reason why we buy. Start to think, why did you buy the last thing you bought? And more importantly, why do your clients want to buy from you? Now, I'm going to share something with you that very few people know about me. It's the first time I'm sharing this in public. I wear hearing aids. I've worn them for the last several years. I had bad hearing for a lot longer than that years of getting the hearing aids. I was so resistant to it. Why? Two main reasons, vanity and ego and vanity. And they're expensive. You know, they're expensive and insurance doesn't cover them. So I went for years, and then my husband and my son got so freaking tired of me turning the TV up really loud or asking them to repeat themselves. So I decided that I'm going to investigate getting hearing aids. So I make an appointment. I go to this one audiologist, nice office, all that. They walk out, no rapport, no real greeting, take me back, put me into that little booth where they test your hearing, bring me back out of the booth and say, yeah, you need hearing aids. Your hearing is really bad, and you're really stupid for not having gotten them already. Now, of course, they didn't say that, but that's what I heard. That's how I heard it. And then they started talking about the state of the art they were, how they have the ones that go over the ears, the one that fits into the ears, what they're made out of, how long they last, blah, 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 blah. I love this cartoon. Please continue talking. My glazed over eyes mean nothing, right? Because I would stop listening because I already didn't like her because she thought I was stupid, right? She was acting as though I was stupid, so I stopped paying attention. That's one of the biggest issues that salespeople have. And it's something that I call premature elaboration. You talk too much. You talk too much about things that people don't care about. You start driving the car before my whole body is even in the car. And that's what this audiologist had done. First rule, don't talk too much. And of course, I left that office, did not buy hearing aids. I was furious. I was livid because I work with people on communication skills. And I thought how on earth did this person become a medical doctor without knowing how to talk to a client? I was so angry. I wrote a blog post about it. I raged to everybody that I heard, I spoke to. It was like, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't get hearing aids, did I? And my husband and son are still complaining. So, okay, I wanted to make them happy, so I decided to try again. Of course, I did not go back to that audiologist because remember that statistic, first negative thing, no, not going back her. So I go to another audiologist, take two. And completely different experience. Sitting in the waiting room, he comes out with this huge smile on his face, shakes my hand, has a conversation. He's so warm, takes me back into his office, sits me down. We have another conversation. He's asking me questions, and they're not those questions that are check the box rapport building questions that people do, He asked me real questions, and he really listened to the answers. And then he put me in the booth to test my hearing. Then he takes me back out of the booth, sits back down, talks to me some more, and he says, you know what? I totally understand why you don't want to get hearing aids. I get it. It's a big investment. It's a big change in your life. And you know what? Your hearing isn't really that bad. You could probably go a lot longer with the type of hearing you have and get by. And then he says, however, I think that your brain is spending a lot of energy straining to hear people. And I think that that causes you a lot of undue stress that you may not even be aware of. So getting hearing aids is going to alleviate that stress. Whew. Right? Right? I felt my entire body exhale. Because he identified a pain and a problem that I didn't even know I had. Right? That is a magnetic motive. That's what we need to do with our prospects and clients. You've gone to a meeting like this guy, and you are on top of the world. Everything is going well. They are eating up your words, and they just cannot wait to sign on the dotted line. You know it. You walk out of that meeting, you're on cloud 9, you got the business. So you're feeling pretty good. Then you go into another meeting, the next meeting, say the exact same thing, and they look at you like this. What you talking about? You know, you said the exact same thing earlier. You got the business. You say this, you get this face. What happened? Different messages for different people. Different motives for different people. And so let's talk about your message, the third M. One size does not fit all. Just like there is one person does not fit all, one motive does not fit all, one message does not fit all. Now, how many of you have taken an assessment test like Myers-Briggs or something like that? Yeah, they're a lot of fun, right? All right, there they are. I go by them. If you've read my bio, I am a recovering actor, acted for quite a few years. I also wrote for soaps. And as I wrote for 2 soaps, One Life to Live and All My Children, and I acted for a long time. And what I noticed very quickly is all of the roles that I was auditioning for and all the characters that I had to write for in the soaps, they all had such completely different communication styles. When I went to go write my book, Standing Ovation Presentations, I decided to create my own assessment. In my book, I identified 9 different actor types and how they communicate and what their fatal flaws are. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you a quick overview of the 4 most common actor types and how they may show up in your prospects or clients, and how you can use that information to tailor and leverage that information to tailor the messages that you use so that you'll be more magnetic. Here are the 4 actor types. We've got the hero, the buddy, the whiz kid, and the superhero. So our hero walks into the room, they're very charismatic, they're very energetic, they're very engaging. But you'll notice that hero because they have this little bit of a I'm very important thing going on too. You know, they're friendly, but it's like, keep your distance because I'm very important. And their main motive is they want to look good. You want to use visuals and analogies because they'd like to see it. Visuals and analogies. That does not mean pie charts. A buddy is very talkative, very friendly, very cooperative. They go and they ask you about yourself. They talk about all these things. They share a lot of their stories. They want to at least. Super, super friendly. You want to be careful with the buddy, especially when I'm talking about that premature elaboration. Because if you start doing that, the buddy's a really good listener. The buddy will sit there and listen and smile and listen, and then they will ghost you. And the other way of how you communicate with them, you want to make sure that you create this trust. You want to share your personal stories and ask them about themselves, ask them about their families, ask them as much as you can. Create that relationship. Now the whiz kid is all into the data. They like the facts and the data and the analysis. So then you could take up those pie charts to your heart content. Give them those details. Because their primary motive is they want to get it right. They want to do the right thing. So that's what they are going to be motivated by. So your message needs to be tailored towards that. And you want to be clear. You want to be specific. You want to be organized. And you don't have to spend as much time rapport building because whiz kids really don't like that. The last one that I'll talk to you about is the superhero. You'll know the superhero when they walk into the office because they just like walk in, they take control, they're very direct, they're very forceful, they're going to ask you questions right away, they're right there, speak fast, get it. What is their motive? Their motive is they want results. As I'm talking about these 4 types, I would love for you to start thinking about what type you fall under. Because it does make a difference what type you are and how you deliver to a specific type. Now I know one of the main questions that people have when I talk about all of these actor types is the first question I get is, well, how do I know which actor type is in the room? And the second question I get is, what if there's more than one actor type in the room? But the best way of figuring out is to listen. And there are 3 ways that people listen that are really important, because people will tell you who they are if you just take the time to listen. So we've talked about motive, discover outcomes and motivate them. We've talked about tailoring your message to the actor type. And I believe the most important part is believing that you have what it is that they need. There was a monastery in Thailand that had this giant clay Buddha covered in clay. They've had it for hundreds of years. They worshiped it, they loved it, they revered it. And then in 1957, the entire monastery had to relocate. So of course they wanted to take that clay Buddha. So they moved the clay Buddha. And it happened to be raining the day that they moved it. And when they got it to the new place, the head monk looked at the clay Buddha and he thought he saw a crack down the side of it. So he looked a little closer to look inside the crack to see how to repair it. And what he thought he saw, a golden light emanating from this Buddha. And so he decided, since it needed to be repaired anyway, to chip away at this clay. And when he chipped away at the clay, what he discovered underneath was a solid gold Buddha. Solid gold. Imagine the value of that gold. And for hundreds of years, it had been covered in clay. Now, historians believe that it was covered in clay because the monks feared that it was going to be stolen during an invasion. And unfortunately, those monks did not survive to tell anybody that this golden Buddha was covered in clay. I want you to think about that story in 2 ways. The first way is every time you sit in front of a prospect or a client, you want to think that they may be covered in clay that was put on them because of fear, because of lack of information, because of some other bias. But what I want you to do is I want you to look for the crack in that clay and to see that underneath might be a golden opportunity. And so I'd love for you to use the tools that you get here at this conference, at this presentation, at the presentations that you're going to hear after, and think of how you can use those tools to chip away at their clay and uncover the golden opportunity that lies underneath it. Now, the second way I want you to think about this story is that to know that you have a golden magnetic Buddha wholesaler deep inside of you. And it might be covered in a little bit of clay of those assumptions, the clay of not feeling 100% that you are adding value. But I also want you to use the tools that we have discussed today and the tools that you've gotten over this week to chip away at your own clay and to polish your own gold and to develop that confidence, that inner confidence that you are what you have, who you are, and what you do is invaluable, because it is.